Welcome to episode 591 of Salsidoparanormal. I'm your host, James Salcido, and tonight I will be talking about haunted places in the U.S. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media and other ways to contact me at the podcast page, and that is salsidoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions or accounts of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. Thank you all for listening, whether you are here for the live streams on Discord or if you listen to the podcast or YouTube feeds or on the Trouble Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, where you can hear replays of 2 episodes of the show every night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right before Trouble Minds Radio comes on. And as always, I want to thank Michael Strange, host of Trouble Minds Radio, for having me on the network and putting all my shows up there. And if you'd like to support the show, there are some different ways to do that. You can always find, you can always share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. You can find books I've written, paranormal fiction and nonfiction, over on Amazon. You can sign up for the Patreon page, any of the paid membership tier levels there, to get 1 extra episode of the show per week. And also you can just make one-time donations through PayPal. Support is never expected, but always appreciated, especially these days, as there are expenses in making these shows and related projects, such as the books I'm working on to go with this podcast, from equipment to research materials to travel expenses in some cases. So I think that covers everything there. And just a quick note, I will be taking the weekend of July 4th off. I won't be recording any shows that weekend because I'm 90% sure there will be all kinds of sounds of fireworks going on all around me that Friday and Saturday night, because it's on a Thursday. So taking that weekend off, so there won't be any shows for that next week after that. But just want to let everyone know a little bit early, and of course I'll mention it again when it gets closer. So other than that, I think we can get right to the material here. Again, this is part of my Haunted Places in the U.S. series, and we're working through Arizona right now. So let me get to the material here that I found. As always, all the articles that I talked about here on these shows, they will be found in the episode description, so you can read the entire thing for yourselves and go from there. So let me get back to the Word file here, and I'll start with that. So I don't cover a lot of these kinds of locations because of sort of the dark topics that can be associated with them, but I think it's important to cover them once in a while, and that's why I'm covering talking about tonight the Yuma Territorial Prison in Arizona. This is a location. It's believed to be haunted by the spirits of former inmates who died within its walls. And this was something you hear about with a lot of prisons that are older, especially. A lot of activity is said to still be happening there in terms of the paranormal. And I think because of all the energy involved and all the emotions, which would generate more energy possibly, and all these things going on there. So this first article is from Only in Your State, and the title reads, Yuma Territorial Prison in Arizona is one of the nation's most haunted places. And again, as always with these shows, whenever I cover haunted places, please look into the current state of the location, the current status, to make sure if you're ever thinking about going there, please make sure to check and find out when you are allowed to visit, when it's open for visiting and all those kinds of things, because I do not recommend trespassing for a lot of reasons. So this article talks about here how Arizona is full of abandoned and haunted places, but this one might just be, of course, it says the most horrific. And it could be, but also with a lot of these kinds of articles, they tend to have a similar formula. So we'll go from there and see what the rest of the articles say. This prison, of course, says it has a gruesome past. Many of its former inmates have decided to stick around long after their lives have ended there. It was built in 1875 by the prisoners themselves, and it officially opened a year later. It started off with just 7 inmates, and the jail housed a total of over 3,000 throughout its 33 operating years. So, it talks about how it says you can walk through the prison that housed prisoners until 1909, and then basically get a sense of what it was like there. It says that you'll find many inmates have yet to leave, basically, as paranormal activity is common there, all across the corridor where all the cells are. Mentions that once you go inside one of the cells or there, you will get this overwhelming feeling or sense of unease. And there's also sounds that are said to be heard there from even including the sound of a guitar. There's apparently a prison band. Okay, sorry. Back in the day, at the prison, and many of the members says still are there, so that that's where you can hear them playing. Could also be residual energy, but anyway, it says that guests can even enter what is called the dark cell, and that is where it just gives a description of the cell, which is 10 by 10 feet. This was reserved for the most incorrigible inmates. So this says most visitors that stay or that go there last just a few minutes before leaving that cell. Also, it says on the grounds is a cemetery where many of the 112 inmates that died there are buried. There, it says 22 prisoners met a violent demise, and again, so the article talks about how they're still there. Let's see here. Talks about how there's this a guard tower, which will allow you to see the entire place. So, let's see here. So it talks about it has 2 articles basically on the same site here about the same location. So the excuse me, it says that it opened again in 1876 and was operated until 1909 when it was closed due to overcrowding. Shortly after that, the grounds were used as a local high school. Wow, a shelter for families affected by the Great Depression, and eventually became a state park in 1961. So it says that talks about the prison again. So it says to local people, the people in the area, to locals, it was had a nickname of the Country Club by the River due to its location near the Colorado River. Of course, I believe that's sort of a sarcasm going on there. So let's see here. This happened. Now let me see here. Okay, so apparently part of the reason for this phrase is that the prison was set up with electricity and lighting before the citizens in the area received access to it. So because I guess it was a prison and everything, so it was sort of the reason behind that joke. So of course there was meals that were regular meals there, medical care, and all those things. So, here. So, looking at the rest of this article here, trying to get to the paranormal things. So as far as the deaths go, there, not all of them were due to like executions. A lot of them were because of tuberculosis, basically just natural causes and other diseases going on there. So, and then of course a minority were caused by the attempted escapes of other inmates there. So, see here. It says that depending on who you talk with, there are 2 to 3 haunted spots in the prison where employees and visitors have noted eerie feelings and what they can only assume are have had. I haven't messed up that sentence, but what they believe to be paranormal experiences. One, let me see here. So there's this one area known as cell number 14, and it says that located at the end of the block, and a few cells down from this one, cell 14 is where a prisoner was there, and he later died there. So they're giving descriptions of, they're talking about who died there, but not really going into a lot of the talk about what people are experiencing there, other than sort of feelings, which I do think are valid. But also there was that first article there that did talk about the sounds of guitars playing. So just skipping through some of this article here, many people that go into the cells there have get an eerie feeling, and others report the presence of a little girl who evidently lived in the cell with her family during the Great Depression. That was when it was used more for housing, not really prison, of course. And says that, talks about the tours, but we'll leave that for you all to check out. So that was, I guess that was basically, let me see here. Looks like that was actually both articles that I had. I thought that I separated the two, but it looks like I may have just gone through the second website here, but I can't find the exact website name for the second article. But anyway, so I guess that's it for that one. We will move on to the next location here and go from there. So, but yeah, so prisons are, yeah, that's the movie, I believe, right? The 315 to Yuma. I never saw it, but I've heard the name. And hello everyone there in chat. Hello Jay. And yeah, so prisons, there's a lot of them that are said to have paranormal activity. I mean, one of the biggest or most well known anyway is, of course, Alcatraz. We may get to that when we get to California. And but yeah, so that's another one of those types of locations that I think a lot of them do have activity in them because of just all the energy and emotions going on there, and all that. And so I think that can easily lead to things happening there with the paranormal. Moving on to the next location here. This is the Oliver House, which is in Bisbee. It says this is a former boarding house here, according to the summary I have here. It's haunted by the ghost of a woman who was murdered there. So this first article is from phoenixghosts.com. I like to find these websites that are sort of more, at least somewhat local to the areas I'm talking about here when I'm researching these shows or these locations. So the title of the article is just the Oliver House there. Says that Bisbee has a history of mining, labor strikes, and race riots, and it goes, so it starts going into the general history of the location. Let me see here. So this Oliver House is, as of when this article came out, a haunted bed and breakfast that overlooks the town. Most of the people that stay at the Oliver House are very much alive, it says, of course, but there's about a dozen spirits who have long overstayed their welcome. So a dozen spirits is a lot that are said to still be there. It's located in a forest on a hill, and it talks about how there's a dark history there with a lot of the people that have passed away in the area. Of course, that can be said for a lot of areas, but it says that the building has seen 26 deaths, including a mass murder. The most well-known was that of Nathaniel Anderson, who was shot by a debtor, Debtor. Says the ghost of Anderson still haunts the Oliver House, and he lives in the in room 13. Just about every room in the place is said to be haunted, and so guests are, of course, sure to encounter a few spirits no matter what room they stay in. There's also a room known as the grandma room, and that's because of the calm spirit, says, of an elderly woman. So I'm guessing either just the sense of that or maybe even sightings. We'll see as we go through more of this. There's a blue room, and let's see here, purple sage room. So there's that room. Apparently, doors and windows open and close on their own. Guests there at the Oliver House often report hearing footsteps and also having feelings of being watched, and occasional echoes of a phantom party from rooms that are supposed to be empty. You get that in a lot of locations that are sort of either hotels or that kind of thing. You'll hear that. People will say they hear but sounds like a party. People laughing and all those kinds of things, and music, and then they'll go there to check it out, and there'll be nothing there, and all the sounds will stop. So it goes into the history of the Oliver House here. It says that Edith Ann Oliver was married to Henry Oliver, who was a mining tycoon. They thought They thought the executives of the Calumet and Arizona Mining Company needed a place to live and work, so they began building the Oliver House in 1908. Edith had the building made out of brick, as Bisbee had frequent fires and buildings were constantly being destroyed. I'm guessing a lot of those were made of wood. Many of the city's historical records were also destroyed in the fires. That's always sad when that happens for a lot of reasons there. While it's known that 27 people passed away in the house, the number could be higher, but since a lot of the records are lost in the fires there, it's impossible to know. Over time, the the Oliver House eventually housed miners as well as executives, and so it became more of a boarding house at that point for all the workers there. In 1986, the house was bought by Dennis Schranz, not sure, Chrnz. He turned the house into a bed and breakfast, and he was initially skeptical about the paranormal activity that was said to happen at the Oliver House, but it didn't take long, it says, for him to start believing. So let me see here. Looking at the rest of this here, let's get to the part here that talks about the activity. Okay, so talks a little more about the murder of Nathaniel Anderson there, but we don't need to go too much into that. Looking at it goes into each of the individual reports that it mentioned in the beginning of the article here. We will skip to the grandma room because that's named for the ghost of an elderly woman who often appears sitting in a rocking chair. So there we go, an apparition. It says that when she appears, there's a broken cuckoo clock that will chime at 2 a.m. and it's broken though, so that's unusual. Apparently, she died in that room and still resides there in the afterlife. And she's said to be a calm, benevolent spirit and hardly causes any trouble, which is always amazing. Again, so often you hear about through Hollywood or whatever mainstream shows, you'll hear about any kind of reports of paranormal. It always has to be evil and negative and harmful and all those things, and that's not the case with all activity, and maybe even with most activity. But anyway, there is one account says of the woman becoming aggressive when the house was bought out by new owners. They removed the rocking chair and the clock, which apparently that did not make the spirit very happy. While the room was being redecorated, it was being redecorated for a small boy. So he went up there to go check it out, and when he came back downstairs, says he was crying. He said there was a mean old lady that knocked him upside his head. That's not good, but I wonder how much of a contact there was there. It says his parents thought it might have been his imagination of these. I don't know about that. Okay, well, anyway. But the next day they found a large bruise on his forehead. So it's unfortunate that she sort of chose to go after the boy. That's not good. But also sort of, I don't know. There's really no good explanation for that. But if it was her area and then it's being rapidly changed for that kid, then that might have been sort of a message to the rest of the family that she was not pleased with the whole situation. Let's see here. So it talks a little bit about the second floor. It's the most active area of the house. Guests often report intense feelings of being watched when they get there. Of course, there's the doors opening and closing, and without warning. People have also seen lights turning on and off in their rooms on their own, and guests often complained about hearing parties in the middle of the night, again, like it said. But when they go to check it out, there's nothing there. They also hear the sounds of a handyman doing work on a leaky pipe, and then when they go there, there's no one there. So anyway, that's all the time we have for this episode. There's another article. I will include it in the episode description. Thank you all for listening, and I'll talk to you all in the next episode of Salsidoparanormal. Take care. Right. Okay. Let's see. Oh, there we go.